Welcome to this ChannelX Leaders interview. I'm absolutely thrilled to be joined by Georgia today, CMO of Linnworks. So, welcome, Georgia. How are you?
I'm absolutely fantastic, Chris. How are you today? It's a pleasure to be here.
I'm great. I really want to find out more about you as well as Linnworks today. So, I'm going to dive straight in. Kind of, how did you get into the retail tech space? Where has Georgia come from?
Well, gosh, it's a long and potted history, but anyone giving me the opportunity to talk about me, gosh, what a pleasure. So Georgia Leybourne, where have I come from? So I'm 33 years into my career. I started out in office furniture, went into oh goodness, all things financial transfers. So that was my first play in technology. I was dealing with CFOs and selling electronic funds transfer software. And then I fell into my first supply chain role within retail tech at Manhattan Associates about 15, 20 years ago. And I've never looked back since. I absolutely love the retail space. I like the fact that I'm a consumer as well as a vendor. And
I
therefore I
know.
can feel.
Doesn't it give some real insights when you buy something and you think, oh my God, that was a disaster, or alternatively, oh my God, these guys have got it nailed.
Exactly. And I feel like totally relevant in the space because I can see it both from the retailer's perspective. I've worked in retail before, the consumer's perspective, I do a lot of shopping, and also the vendor's perspective, I'm a technologist at the end of the day. So I can kind of juggle these three passions of mine. And that's kind of what I fell into retail tech by accident, but I've not left it because I love it so much, because it's so relevant.
And talking about loving retail tech, tell me about Linnworks solution. What makes you so passionate about your role there? What are they doing in retail tech that really sort of gets you excited about working for the company?
So I feel I was blessed when I discovered Linnworks because I've actually spent about 15 years in this area of technology, which is all to do with inventory management. Now, if you think about it, this is my justification. When someone goes shopping, what do they want? Well, they want to get their hands on the inventory at the end of the day. Whatever the goods are that the retailer's selling, that's what the customer wants to get their greasy little hands on. So being in the inventory management space really gives me the opportunity to finesse that customer journey, to make sure the customer's getting what they want and to make sure the retailer is doing it in an optimized fashion. So let me backtrack a little bit. What is Linnworks? We are a connected commerce ops platform. We fundamentally help the retailer manage inventory from beginning right through to the end. So if you imagine they are replenishing their stores, they're putting details on their website, they might even be connected to multiple marketplaces. So all of their inventory is out there somewhere being advertised to the consumer. So we start there. We give them a single view of that inventory across all of those channels. Then Mr. Customer comes along and pushes that buy button or asks to buy that inventory in store. And we start to deduct the inventory picture from all of those different channels so that all of the channels are up to date. And then we start to figure out, okay, how are we going to fulfill this? Where is it coming from? How are we going to get it to the consumer? And again, balancing, when does the consumer want it? How do they want it? How do we want to deliver it? How much is it going to cost us to deliver? All of those major, major questions that the retailer has to ask. And we help them find the right fulfillment path through.
And I've got to say, it's becoming more complicated because, I mean, Amazon, for example, they think I want everything next day because I've got Amazon Prime. And you know what? Sometimes I do, but sometimes I really don't care how long it takes. I'm thinking Christmas wrapping paper and gift tags. I know when Christmas is, I'm probably ordering in October. It's like, give it to me any time in the next month. But when my computer hard drive breaks, I'm like, I need it within hours. At least give it to me tomorrow. So how does Linnworks kind of help consumers, or rather help retailers deliver the experience consumers want at the time they want it?
Well, this is the interesting thing. By providing that single view of inventory and by providing all of the answers to where that inventory is, we can help consumers see on the platforms where they're shopping what's available when, but we can also help the retailers realize how quickly they can get stuff from A to B. The interesting thing about what you've just said, Chris, is when we surveyed consumers, they're not that bothered about speed. They're way more bothered about reliability and knowing when they're going to get their goods. And if there's a problem, being told there's a problem and having that communication. And that, interestingly, is what Linnworks does really well, is that we create a reliable delivery cycle for the customer so that they can have surety about when they're going to be receiving their goods. And if something goes wrong, there are mitigating communications that can occur so that the retailer can get out ahead of it. But this same day, next day nonsense, you're absolutely right. If it's a part for your car or if it's a medical supply or maybe a boiler part, fair enough. We want that straight away, especially with the weather as it is. But otherwise, people are pretty organized. They order stuff in time for whatever the compelling event is.
Yeah. So as a consumer, what actually frustrates you most about the retail industry at the moment? If brands could just do one thing for you, what would it be? And I'm going to ask you next what your biggest wow moments are, what you love as a consumer. But first of all, frustrations. What really pees you off?
So I've had frustrations. So one of my major in-store frustrations is when the point of sale system goes down and they can't actually take my payment. And I'm like, okay, I'm here. I want to buy this item and you're telling me I can't buy it because your point of sale has gone down. I mean, that to me is just a travesty for Honestly, the economy, for the consumer, for the retailer.
I was in Starbucks a couple of days ago and they couldn't serve me a cup of tea or coffee because they had no hot water. And I was just like, oh my God, how does that happen?
It's yeah. So that's a travesty for an in-store.
Tech failures. It's surely it's inexcusable these days.
It really is. But online, one of my biggest woes is when I'm on the site, I'm looking around, I can see the stock levels because some great technology is providing that to me. And then I go to checkout and then they tell me it's out of stock. And I'm like, hold on a minute. You've obviously got disparate systems behind the scenes. One's doing your stock at that moment in time. One's doing your stock at that. Guys, you've got to join up the dots here. It drives me insane. Or when you actually check out and you've paid your money and then 2 days later you get an email saying it's out of stock.
Oh, no, that's the worst.
That kind of thing. When I know the inventory management systems that are available to stop that from happening, that kind of thing drives me crazy. And the chances are that what's happened is they've oversold on another channel and it hasn't updated on this channel. And that's what's happened. But that crucifies me.
Yeah, I just hate surprises like that. I mean, I'm so bad that I even hate surprises where I can't see what the delivery charge will be before I actually put the item in my basket and go to checkout. It's just like, tell me up front. 9 times out of 10, I'll go and click on delivery on your website. Just have a list of your prices there so I've got an idea.
But and all the technology is available today to finesse that customer journey. And that's where retailers are going to be losing business, as if they haven't put the right technology in the right place within that flow for the customer.
So we've been a bit negative. Let's talk about your biggest wow moments. What really has been superb as a customer for you when you're in consumer mode and buying? What really does it for Georgia?
So my wow moments come when I can see through the experience that I've received the people, technology and process working in tandem with one another to create an experience where my interaction with the technology has been easy, where the communications that come through are on point. And I love a jovial tone of voice. I love those retailers who just take a moment to personalize and finesse that communication so that it's human and it feels like it's aimed at me. And then when the goods actually come through, so that you can see people, technology and process working in tandem, that's when I get my wow moment, and I get little shivers going down my spine.
And I've got to ask the question, can you actually tell as a consumer when it's a Linnworks retailer that you've bought from? Do you look at the flow and think, they're using Linnworks?
I can tell if they're using Linnworks or one of the other suppliers out there that does it right. But interestingly, it isn't only Linnworks. Linnworks is a piece of the jigsaw puzzle. But think about your experiences when you're online. How many of those websites out there these days look alike?
Oh, I know. They just come out of the box with a skin on them, change the colours.
But the good thing about that is you get familiarity as a consumer, but you also know that it's one of those fantastic website builders like the Shopifys or the big commerces of the world, who the retailer has kind of got in bed with and built their online offering via that website, via that commerce platform. So for me, I can tell when they've got a good commerce platform, they've got Linnworks managing their order orchestration, and then they've got a really good integration partner from a fulfillment perspective, like a good shipper. And I won't name any names, I will not buy from people who use specific couriers that I know don't deliver well.
And when you say don't deliver well, I've got to put a caveat in there, because I hear complaints about all sorts of couriers, but some of them are just bad in one area. It's the local delivery man or woman in your area that's bad. But for me, that courier might be great. And I think that's why you've got to offer that choice. Because I love some couriers. In fact, I'm going to be naughty. I'm going to name one. I love Every in my area. They are superb. I hear loads of complaints about them and it just doesn't ring true. But in your area, one courier that's great for me might not be good for you. And that's why it's so key to offer that choice.
My Every delivery man comes in for a cup of tea. Because before now, I've called up my Every delivery man and said, hey, I know that you probably aren't going to deliver this until tomorrow, but if you do manage to get hold of it this evening, any chance you can drop it off for me? This was a good couple of years ago, but I was going on holiday and I'd ordered a new bathing costume, and Next had told me it's delivered, it's with your courier, and I rang him up and he brought it over for me. I mean, Every I love to bits, but there are others out there, and I think you're right, Chris. It's quite regional. It depends on the area. But I have watched delivery van drivers throw boxes over my fence, and the coffee machine that was inside did not live to tell the tale. I've had deliveries arrive on my front doorstep and be stolen because they've just left them out on a public road. There's that kind of thing that drives any consumer mad. But yes, I can tell when there's a decent bit of tech behind the delivery.
So we talked a lot from the consumer perspective, and it would be bad if I didn't ask a bit from the sort of the brand, the retailer perspective. So what I want to know is, in 2025, as we go through the year, what's giving retailers kind of the biggest bang for their buck at the moment when looking for new customers? What channels should they be on? But also, there's so many new channels. Which of the new TikTok, Temu, Sheins, etc., Best Buy in the US is going to open? Which of the new channels should retailers be looking at to get the really quick wins?
One of the most difficult things for retailers is that when there's an explosion of innovation and an explosion of opportunity, there's always too much to choose from. So they've got to really, really be canny in kind of navigating through. You're talking about marketplaces. And for me, marketplaces is the way to grow your business at the moment. Shoppers actually seem to prefer shopping on marketplaces, but there is a lot of choice out there. But it's really exciting choice. You've got the Sheins and Temus coming in. You've got Amazon launching Haul. These are all the kind of fast track, relatively low cost items. You can get anything on these platforms. So if you're a vendor who's got a diverse category to sell, you should be jumping on those platforms without a moment's hesitation. But I actually find even more exciting are the Asdas and the Tescos of the world, because, you know, I don't shop in the grocery store anymore, but when I used to shop in the grocery store, I would go for the clothing line, I'd go for the household goods line all the time. So the fact that Tesco and Asda are now opening up their online shopping environments as a marketplace, these are going to explode. You've also got the B&Qs of the world from a home and garden perspective. I mean, B&Q, you can get anything on B&Q now, consumer. So again, from a retailer's perspective, it's like someone's opened Pandora's box.
Oh, I'm amazed because, like, on B&Q you can now buy an air fryer, which I thought I'd be going to Debenhams for, and at Debenhams I can buy a garden shed that I thought I'd be going to B&Q before. Both of them, their home and garden are just exploding. Obviously, Debenhams have got beauty and fashion, which is maybe not what I ever expect to see at B&Q. But the amount of products B&Q have got now, they've just got such a huge assortment, all from third-party retailers on their marketplace.
And the great thing for retailers is that each of these new marketplaces that are opening up a new set of customers that they would not have been able to get to with their store or with their own online presence. You know, people are quite loyal to a brand. So, you know, Debenhams for me is gift shopping. If I need to buy someone a gift, I'll go to a Debenhams or a John Lewis. Don't tend to go there for my own purposes. If I need something for the home and garden, I'm off to B&Q without a moment's hesitation. But now that I can go online and you can find all sorts of things, it's just, I think marketplace shopping for the consumer is just manna from heaven. But for the retailer to grow your customer base, it's a phenomenal opportunity to get new customers that you wouldn't have attracted otherwise. But every channel you add adds complexity to your ability to fulfill in a seamless fashion for your customer. And that is where Linnworks comes into play. So you get, you know, we've got this fantastic customer called SockSnob. They sell socks. They've now opened up their socks to a plethora of marketplaces. But they couldn't do that if they didn't have Linnworks tying together the back end for them. The same with Spreetail, another huge customer of ours who have achieved 6 times growth over the last 2 or 3 years. But again, couldn't have done it if they didn't have that back end capability, keeping them in check across the different channels that they're selling on. So these innovative retailers who are branching out, grabbing hold of those new marketplaces, they need something that will provide them a distributed order management system behind the scenes and keep everything in check for them.
Yeah, and I think that is just the crux of retail today. Kind of what used to be sort of an excellent experience is now kind of mediocre, and consumers just won't put up with it. They might buy from you once, but they're not going to come back again. You've got to have that excellence in operational expertise just across every platform you sell on.
Absolutely. It's not acceptable to let people down anymore. The only caveat to that is mistakes are going to happen. Challenges are going to be, you know, forthcoming. And I'm a huge forgiver if you're open and transparent with me. So my advice to the retailer always has been, make sure you have a system that enables you to be transparent and communicative with your customer. Because if, God forbid, something does go wrong, they will be forgiving if you tell them about it in advance and tell them what you're going to do about it.
Yeah, don't leave me waiting in all day for my delivery. Just tell me, sorry, it's going to be tomorrow.
Exactly.
These things happen. But Georgia, hugely exciting with Linnworks, with so many channels that you're helping retailers on now. I really want to thank you for your time today, and let's talk again soon.
Absolutely, Chris. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for having me on.